Frank Guinta, the former congressman from New Hampshire and also the former mayor of Manchester, New Hampshire, is on the line, and he's running for Congress again against Carol Shea Porter. Frank, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Hey, Howie, it's a pleasure to be back. How are you?
Good, good. How's it going in your campaign? What are do you have polls showing how you're doing or not?
Sure. Yeah. No. The last two consecutive public polls have me up between 4 and 5 points in the race. So we're feeling pretty good. But as you know, you never rely on a poll. You work pretty hard on ensuring that you win. But I'll tell you, Howie, the issues are exactly what you're talking about. The same things that people are talking about here in New Hampshire. I mean, the lack of leadership with the president on international issues. Carol Shea Porter has been silent on what's going on in either Iraq or the Ukraine or in Israel, and she's on the House Armed Services Committee. You would expect that she would have some sort of response to it. And there's great frustration.
Isn't it amazing that we were about to bomb Bashar Assad exactly a year ago, and now we're about to bomb Syria again, only in his behalf? And we're going to be bombing the same people that we were going to be bombing him for a year ago. I mean, I know politics makes strange bedfellows, but this is incoherence at its worst.
It is. I mean, we don't have any kind of foreign policy at this point, and a year ago people were calling for the removal of Assad, and now you're trying to find somebody who would be considered moderate today that we can team up with, that a year from now could be the next potential terrorist group. So the region is really,
and they also, another thing that really gets me, Frank, is when they show us the I always love the pictures, the aircraft pictures of them destroying the Humvees or the tanks, but when they show the pictures, I'm thinking to myself, 4 weeks ago, that was our guys in the Iraqi army in that tank. That's our tank. That's our Humvee. We paid for that thing, and now we're paying to destroy it. It's crazy. It's just insane.
It is insane, and people are very frustrated around the country and in New Hampshire about this. The reality, though, is that we are clearly we have a problem with ISIS. They do have to be eliminated based on what they're doing. They're killing Christians. They're beheading an American, Jim Foley, whose family lives in Rochester, New Hampshire. So there do need to be steps taken. But Howie, this should have been done against ISIS, 6 months ago. They were not nearly as strong 6 to 9 months ago as they were today.
Right.
And they didn't have the same resources 6 to 9 months ago.
Right. That's what Colonel Hunt, I always ask Colonel Hunt when he's on, I say, when can we use the Moab, the mother of all bombs? And he says, we could have literally taken them out with a couple of Moabs a couple of months ago. Because there were less than 1,000 of them.
Right. There were less than 1,000. They had a few $100 billion at the time. Now they're upwards of 20,000. I'm sorry, they had about, $4 to $450 million. They had about 1,000 people. This was 6-9 months ago. Today, they're upwards of 20,000 people. They're over billions in terms of their net worth. They are selling oil. They have taken over banks. So it becomes much more difficult. They're now geographically all over that region between Iraq and Syria.
And supposedly Qatar, which is hosting the American command in the Mideast, is supporting them, or the rich people in Qatar are supporting them. And these are also the same people who own Al Jazeera, by the way, and have paid Al Gore hundreds of millions of dollars. Which side are these people on?
Right. I mean, Qatar does not seem to be, a long-term ally of the United States. I mean, they might do things that are in our short-term benefit, but in the long term, I don't think that they're considered an ally of ours. So it becomes very, very challenging in what our foreign policy is. So here's the problem. In absence of making a decision 6, 9, 12 months ago, the president was indecisive, and now we've got a far worse problem on our hands. So you've got to act. I know nobody wants to go to war. Look, I don't want to go to war. But if we had been able to contain and eliminate them 9 months ago, we would not be in the position we're in today.
Right. And how about the fact it's in the New York Times today that Egypt and the UAE, two of our more reliable allies, they've started bombing Libya. They didn't even bother to tell the Obama administration that because they didn't want this dithering going on about whether or not we would sign off on it. So they just said screw it, and they did it on their own. They're free. Everybody's freelancing now. It's gone from like a war to a barroom brawl over there.
Howie, this is the problem when there is no leadership from our president, when different countries do not respect the leadership of the United States. And most people don't even realize what is going on in Libya right now because it's not getting a lot of attention. But the entire region is at a crossroads, and here we are trying to figure out what's in the best interest.
Boy, that was a mistake taking out Gaddafi, wasn't it? I mean, that was a big error.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's something that I voted against that action when I was in Congress. And again, all of these situations are going to be ever more challenging because there is no current foreign policy position that the United States has. So that's got to be number one. We've got to, the president should have been back from vacation. Remember when David Cameron, he went back home from his vacation. The president
one day into the vacation, he was back.
Correct. Yeah, and counter that to what the president did. He had a press conference 5 minutes later. He had a tea time, and it's outrageous. It angers Americans. There are some moments where you've got to go back and do your job and be effective on behalf of the United States, and he just hasn't. And as a result, his numbers are down dramatically. But back in New Hampshire, Carol Shea Porter has been silent. I mean, here we are on August recess when you're supposed to be with your
in the district
yourselves. Yeah, you know where she was, Howie? She was in California. She was out in California in wine country with Tom Steyer and Nancy Pelosi raising money.
I hope she wasn't adversely affected by the earthquake, Frank.
This was right before the earthquake. But we sent out a press release calling her California Carol. Was she
without because Gene Shaheen was out there too? Were they out there together?
They were different. They were different trips, but the New Hampshire GOP, was critiquing the fact that they were both out of the state raising money instead of doing what you need to be doing, which is talking with your constituents and dealing with the immediate issues of the day.
Yeah. So she's getting money from Tom Steyer, huh?
She was at an event in wine country with Tom Steyer and Nancy Pelosi for vulnerable Democrats.
Steyer is the guy who's who's made literally billions in fossil fuels, and now he's become one of these global warming nuts who wants everybody else to ride around on a pink bike like John Kerry, except for him, of course, right?
Well, after he made his millions,
right. But now he's one of the he's right up there with Soros and Bloomberg. There's a big story today about Soros' son, Bloomberg, Steyer, and somebody else are those are the big liberal money guys. So she was out there who are some of the other endangered Democrats, Frank? Do you know?
We were trying to figure that out. I mean, we did find out it was Carol, Shea Porter.
Yeah.
But there was less than 5 or 6 of them.
So she must really be they must really be concerned.
Oh yeah, Howie, this is a race that's expected one of the top 5 to flip from Democrat to Republican. But I'll tell people, and I continue to tell people, the Democratic machine is going to have a lot of money in the final 8 weeks of this campaign to beat me up, to make all Republicans sound like they're far right. So we've got to be very vigilant. We've got to work hard. We've got to raise the funds. I continue to ask people to go to teamguinta.com and help raise the funds because they have more money on the Democrat liberal side than we do. So we're right on the issues. We're going to outwork them, but they're going to spend far more dollars than we're capable.
Someone wants to know, didn't Carol Shea Porter butcher a Mideast question? Was it about Libya? It was about Libya, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Annie Custer.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm getting them confused.
She was asked about Libya, and she said, I'm sorry, this forum is about the Middle East, and someone yelled from the audience that is in the Middle East. And then she didn't answer the question. So that got a lot of attention in New Hampshire. But that's our delegation, Howie. On the House side, you take your pick. Someone who doesn't understand the geographic region of the Middle East, or someone like Carol Shea Porter that doubles down on Obamacare, that continues to support the EPA and growing regulatory issues right here in her backyard. She's a tax and spender. She's one of the more liberal members of Congress, and she's just, I think, out of touch with New Hampshire.
Well, she was this, fresh face and all this, and she was going to be the one who, she was a code pink type, and then as soon as she got in and she realized she needed help to get reelected because she was in a very vulnerable position in a Republican-leaning district, I thought she was going to move into the Portsmouth Navy Yard, right? I mean, she does whatever she'll do. What she's as shameless as any lifetime Paul.
Yeah, she has not changed her stripes whatsoever. I mean, she still is with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. She's one of the members that said, "Hey, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor."
Do you have that on tape?
Obamacare.
You have that on tape?
We have a video of it. We've
excellent!
Got several videos. Yeah, there's several videos of it.
Wow. So you got Jean Shaheen she's on video. Carol Shea Porter. How about Custer? Is she on video too?
Well, she was not in office.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was. Yeah.
But Annie Custer has said since then that she is the biggest supporter of the president, and she says that she does support the Affordable Care Act.
Wow. Don't call it the Affordable Care Act, Frank. Come on. It's Obamacare.
Well, in New Hampshire, what Obamacare has done, 22,000 people, we're a small state, 22,000 people lost their insurance. You've got now one exchange. 10 hospitals were excluded from that exchange. 1,000 physicians in New Hampshire were excluded. And rates are skyrocketing, and we're expected on October 1st to have another rate increase, which is expected to be in some circumstances almost double of what we're paying.
Oh,
today.
So they're not going to be able to postpone the rate increases until after the election in New Hampshire.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think that's part of the.
I think that was part of the national MO that they were.
It is. It is part of the national strategy, and let's see if they do that. But either way, I think they're in trouble because in New Hampshire, most people do not support the Affordable Care Act. So whether you have the increases or whether it's pushed off, it's being political no matter what, and it's not addressing the issue. So I think it's going to favor Republicans regardless.
Yeah. Let's take a call. We got a couple of calls here. People want to talk to you. Frank, we're speaking to Frank Guinta. He's running to regain the seat that he had, and then he lost it again. This is the rubber match with Carol Shea Porter, and he's the former mayor of Manchester as well. Tug, you're next with Howie Carr and Frank Guinta. Go ahead, Tug.
Hi, Frank. Good luck. I hope you and Scott will attack your opponents on the fact that they are succumbing to blackmail by this guy Steyer. He's sacrificing, and they are sacrificing a large portion of our energy independence by not building the pipeline, and he is holding them ransom for $100 million. And it's especially relevant in New Hampshire. We have so many people that heat with heating oil, and the price is so high, and it's going to get worse with the predicted extremely cold weather. So I hope
I'm glad you bring that issue up. We do have amongst the highest energy costs in the country here in New Hampshire, and you're absolutely right. I support the Keystone Pipeline. Carol Shea Porter specifically opposes it, as does Senator Shaheen. And there are Tom Steyer based TV ads right now in I think, against Scott Brown in New Hampshire. None in my race so far, but it's a very good point. Here she supports Tom Steyer's position. Tom spends money beating up Scott Brown, and here in New Hampshire you have home heating oil that continues to skyrocket. There is no solution in sight for the Keystone Pipeline. And I think it's a blatant, it's blatantly opposing the very things that people want, which is economic growth.
Right, and here you have the president of the United States, who again Carol Shea Porter supports. The guy goes around bragging, we're now the number one oil producing country in the world again for the first time in 40 years. And he doesn't say it's because of fracking, which I oppose and won't allow to go on public lands. I mean, he's taking credit for a policy that he opposes. It's so frustrating.
he's taking credit for state-based growth, not national policy growth. You're absolutely correct. And look, it's time that we have a national energy policy. We've got to have it, which is going to help us, with the issue in the Ukraine. I mean, look, you've got Europe right now that feels like they're under the thumb of Russia because they need the energy from Russia.
Right.
Well, imagine if we were energy independent, we can help Europe break away from Russia, and you can crush the military of Russia simply by being a worldwide competitor.
Right, and all of a sudden,
and
Qatar and the rich people in Saudi Arabia got a lot less money to be shipping to ISIS to be using to kill minorities in the Mideast and chop off Americans' heads.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I mean, it's about time we have an energy policy that matches the needs of America and the world.
Yeah, I know that's another thing about him. I mean, he says no blood. He used to say no blood for oil, but at the same time, he doesn't want to impose any policies that are going to lead to the fact that we don't need to have blood for oil. It's just, I don't know. It's very frustrating, Frank. I'm sure it must be. I mean, and then you read the Concord Monitor, and he can do no wrong, or the Boston Globe.
Yeah, well, they certainly are entitled to their opinions, but that certainly does not match what the average citizen is thinking about either President Obama or Carol Shea Porter.
What's the address if people want to get involved with your campaign?
Yeah, if you want to help out, go to teamguinta.com. Our campaign office is 1850 Elm Street, right in downtown Manchester. It's the same place that it has been for a number of years. Most people know where that is, but look, we need financial support. You can go online at teamguinta.com to help out. This is the time when we continue our grassroots effort with our door knocking program and our calls.
We got to wrap it. We got to wrap it up. We don't have time to talk to a couple people. Want to talk to you, Matt and Carmen, but we don't have time. But Frank, thanks for being with us. You're welcome anytime. Thank you, Frank
Sure, thanks,
Guinta.
Howie. Take care.
I'm Howie Carr.